And welcome into our NJCAA Network studio. I'm Phil Constantino. This is the Division III Men's Basketball Selection Show. We will reveal a bracket of 12 for the tournament to be played at Herkimer College in upstate New York, March 15th to 18th. Here's the empty bracket that will shortly fill in. The top 4 seeds in the tournament will receive a first-round bye. The tournament field is comprised of 12 teams, 8 automatic qualifiers as district champions, and 4 at-large selections. This is year 3 of the 12-team tournament and the at-larges. March 15th, Wednesday, is the first round. The championship game, 5 p.m. Eastern, on Saturday, March 18th. Again, all of these games at Herkimer College in Herkimer, New York. And all games will be broadcast on the NJCAA network, including consolation games. Let's meet those top 4 teams that will have a first-round bye in this tournament. The number 1 overall seed, Sand Hills. The Flyers have become a perennial power, 28-3 overall this year. All 3 losses to Division I and Division II. They are 9-0 versus D3 competition. They won the Mid-Atlantic District, and they are seeking their 3rd national championship. Last won the title in 2020. Sand Hills, the number 1 overall seed in the D3 men's tournament. The number 2 seed, Dallas Northlake, the Blazers, 25-6 overall this year. The AQ from the South Central District, they beat Dallas Richland, a bubble team, 90-63 in the title game. 16-0 at home this year, 21 consecutive wins. It's their 8th tournament appearance, and of course, Dallas Northlake, the defending national champions. Dallas Northlake, the number 2. The number 3 seed, Brookdale from New Jersey, 27-3 on the season. The automatic qualifier as district champions in the North Atlantic. They, too, beat a bubble team in their title game, 90-84 the final score over Northampton. It's their 7th tournament appearance, their 1st since 2018. And the final of the top 4 that will earn a first-round bye, Northern Essex, 31-1, the record for Northern Essex. That's the best winning percentage in the country. 27 consecutive wins. That's the longest active winning streak in the country. Their last loss, November 12th at Suffolk County, 116 days ago. Darren Stratton is the head coach. He's in his 21st year, over 2 stints at the school, an alum of the school. And he's led Northern Essex to their best season ever and their first ever appearance in the national tournament. Northern Essex gets a first-round bye. Sand Hills, the number 1 overall seed. Dallas Northlake, the number 2. Brookdale, the 3. Northern Essex, the number 4. It'll only be 3 games in 3 days for these teams to claim a national championship. For everyone else, the task's slightly more difficult. It'll be 4 games in 4 days. Let's reveal the rest of this bracket. The number 8 seed is our first at-large selection, Prince George's from Maryland. The Owls lost the Region 20 championship game to Butler County, another potential at-large on the bubble. Interesting. It's their first appearance in Division III, their 4th total appearance in an NJCAA national tournament. And in the first round, Prince George's will take on another at-large selection, Mohawk Valley, the 2nd of the 4 at-larges to get into the field. They lost the North Championship game to Fulton Montgomery in a close one, 89-82. Mohawk Valley finished the year 26-3. It's their 3rd appearance in the national tournament. It's 2 at-larges in the first round, Prince George's and Mohawk Valley, for the right to meet the number 1 seed Sand Hills in the quarterfinals. Our next quadrant, and another at-large selection, Northampton, our third at-large selection into the field, lost to Brookdale in the North Atlantic title game, but they finished 28-3 overall, fourth in the final poll. They're making their first tournament appearance, and they are the highest seeded among the at-large selections. Northampton is in the field of 12. The number 12 seed is Dutchess. Lowest seed in the tournament, 17-12 overall. Northeast District champions. Dutchess, first tournament appearance. Northampton and Dutchess is the 5-12 game in the first round. Over to the right side of the bracket. And our final at-large selection, Butler County. One of the great stories of D3 two-year men's college ball this season. They finished 20-4 overall. They won the Mid-Atlantic, or they won their region, and lost in the Mid-Atlantic District Championship. That was their first region title, though, in 21 years. They were just 2-16 a year ago. Head coach Joe Lewandowski in year number 1 has turned this thing around, and they're led by Derek Anderson. 22.2 points per game. That ties for third nationally. One of the great stories, Butler, the last of the 4 at-large selections in the field. They are in. And in the first round, they will take on Rochester, the champions of the North Plains. They're 20-7 overall on the year. They went 11-0 at home. It's their 8th overall tournament appearance and their first since 2020. Butler County and Rochester, the 7-10 matchup. The 6th seed is Fulton Montgomery, the North District champions. 20-6 overall, beat Mohawk Valley in the championship game. It's their 4th appearance in the tournament, but their first in 16 years. Last got in 2007. Fulton Montgomery, first time in a while. They're back in. And the number 11 seed is an AQ, the Chaparrals of DuPage. First time in the tournament for them since 2009. 7th all-time D3 tournament appearance for DuPage. They are the AQ from the Great Lakes. They finished the year 20-13 overall. The 2023 Division III men's bracket looks like this. First round games March 15th, quarterfinal games March 16th, semis on the 17th, and the championship game on March 18th. All of these games you can watch on the NJCAA network. Herkimer College, upstate New York, is the place. Who's going to cut down the net on March 18th? Coming up next here on the Selection Show, Mike Apple. He's the head coach and athletic director at Sand Hills. Yeah, he's the head coach of the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. He's going to join us. You're watching the D3 Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show on the NJCAA Network.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
I have a little birthday message for you from someone too.
I heard you really love basketball. You're a good shooter and a good dribbler. Happy birthday, MJ, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We're now joined here on the Selection Show by the head coach of Sand Hills, the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, Mike Apple. Mike, congratulations, number 1 overall seed. What do you think about that?
First of all, thank you, Philip. It's a great honor. It's just a tribute to our guys. Our guys worked incredibly hard, our coaching staff, the community here at large at Sand Hills. We've had a nice year this year, and we're hoping to continue it in Herkimer.
Fifth straight year in the national tournament. One of those tournaments was a Division II tournament during the COVID year when D3 didn't play. What's allowed you to build this into such a national powerhouse?
Well, I'll just go back to the fact that it's not one thing. It's a lot of things. Our community has really accepted Sand Hills basketball. It's a big thing. It's an important thing. Kids come on our campus and they find out real quick that it's not just me. I've got a tremendous coaching staff that really takes time with our players. We've got faculty and staff that really gets to know our guys, and they like it. They enjoy it. That they become accountable, and they want to strive for greatness, and they do. We've got good players. North Carolina, I think, is just one of the best basketball states in America, and we're in a good location. We're in the middle of the state, so we're able to attract a lot of good basketball players to Sand Hills.
Second time that you're the #1 overall seed. Last time you were the #1 overall seed, you won it in 2020. How do you handle the pressure?
Well, yeah, I think what you do is you try to bring great effort to everything that you do, understanding that the teams that you play against understand exactly where you are. You're the #1 team. It's not hard to get motivated to play someone that's the #1 team. And I think the good thing that we do is we educate our guys into understanding that too, so that they're ready. And I really feel like we're ready to do a good thing and have a good showing in Herkimer.
Can we talk about your schedule? You're also the athletic director at the school. Let's talk about the schedule. You played up this year, Division II and Division I opponents, 22 times. You didn't lose a D3 game. There are only 2 others in your region in D3 that are competing. So what was the challenge, first off, of putting together a schedule?
Well, it's tough because you don't have a lot like D3 teams. What you have is you have D1 and you have D2 teams. A lot of those teams are very accommodating. They want to play you. Some of them are not. So you look hard. I've established a lot of good relationships with a lot of fantastic coaches here in North Carolina, and we'll trade them games. They'll come to us one year, we'll go back to them the next year. It's always tough. We like to travel. We'll go out of state, South Carolina, Virginia, and places like that to find opponents, D2 opponents, D1 opponents that'll play us. I think it sharpens us. I think it makes us better, especially when we get here in the late season of having played teams of those caliber.
So there's a strategy to scheduling up, even if you're in the predicament that you are.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. You want to find teams that you can compete with. You want to find teams that will challenge you, and and there's a balance for sure. It's about confidence of your guys and giving them confidence. You want them to see that there are good teams out there, and that if they compete at a high level, that they have a chance even against teams that are D2, D1, scholarship giving places, things like that. And we pulled that off, and I've been very proud of that. And yes, sir, it's always a challenge every single year.
Let's talk about your tandem of former All-Americans and all-conference selections. Brian Quiller at 14 points a game, just shy of 15 actually, 6 rebounds per game as well. And Joey McMillan, former third-team All-American, 14.5 and 4 per game. What kind of problems do they present for your opponents to try and stop them?
Well, first of all, they right now what they're doing is they're subbing in for one another, so they don't often play at the same time. Which I tell you, if you think about their scoring averages, the effectiveness of those 2 guys when they're in the game is just off the chart. Both of them are averaging around 20 minutes a game. Brian Quiller is a rim running high flyer, just a 6'5", athletic guy, really good around the rim, jumps really well, and is playing good basketball right now. Joey McMullen is a little more cerebral. He's very good around the rim, excellent passer. Again, there's differences in their game, which I think is very, very tough on opponents because, they don't play exactly the same way.
You ever try playing them together?
We did. We played them early in the season together a lot, and we had mixed results. I can tell you, tribute to both guys. I talked to them both mid-season. Felt like we wasn't getting as much out of either one of them as we could, and I said, how about let's go back to the way we did it last year? And last year we had them sub for one another, and they were both okay with it. And to their credit, they don't care which one starts, and so. We've done it this way since, I guess, mid-January, and it's working well for us. I think you're going to see it again in the tournament.
In your quarterfinal game on Thursday, March 16th, you'll either get Prince George's or Mohawk Valley, whomever the winner is, and then you'll have to win 3 games in 3 days to claim a national championship for the second time since 2020. What's it going to take?
Well, it's going to take good play. No doubt about it. You got to be ready to play. That first game is just ultra important, no doubt. It's going to take some luck. You never win a national championship without some luck. It's going to take health. You hope that you guys go out, compete at a high level, and stay healthy. I'm looking forward to it. I think we've got a nice, deep team. I think we're well built to withstand 3 games in 3 days. And, those 2 opponents you just mentioned are quality opponents, and we're going to have to be ready for it.
Mike Apple, he's the head coach of the #1 overall seed in this tournament, Sand Hills. Mike, congratulations, and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we will hear from Greg Whitkop. He is the chair of the D3 Men's Basketball Selection Committee. He's going to give us some answers as to why certain teams got in and certain teams did not. That's next. Stay with us here on The Selection Show on the NJCAA Network.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Great seats at a great price. Get them safer, simpler, and smarter with Ticket Smarter. A proud partner to the biggest names in live sports and events, including ESPN events and iHeartRadio. Ticket Smarter has seats for over 125,000 live events and 48 million tickets for sale. All backed with the Ticket Smarter 100% ticket guarantee. Thinking about your next great live event? Think smarter. Think Ticket Smarter. Get your tickets your way, guaranteed at Ticketsmarter.com.
We are now joined by Greg Whitkop from CCBC Essex. He is the chair of the Division III Men's Basketball Selection Committee. Greg, welcome. Thank you for the time once again. Let's talk about this. You have 4 at-large selections in this tournament: Prince George's, Northampton, Mohawk Valley, and Butler County. Mohawk Valley, the lowest of the 4, the last one into the tournament. Why Mohawk Valley?
So I think they really established themselves as a tough team coming out of Region 3, which is consistently a very strong region. They have some national tournament history themselves, and they actually were on a 20-game winning streak prior to losing to Fulton Montgomery in the Region 3 championship game. So 24 overall Division 3 wins. We just felt through the full body of their work that they were ahead of a couple of the other teams that we considered.
The other teams that you considered, it seems like at the top of the list, Dallas Eastfield, Dallas Richland, Montgomery County. Are those the right teams that are the first ones on the bubble that are here on the outside looking in?
Yeah, I would say it was those 3 plus Nassau out of Region 15.
Let's go individually. Why not Dallas Eastfield?
So I think when we got to the Dallas schools, we felt like we really needed to take Richland 1 over Eastfield. 2-1 in head-to-head games. So then when we got into it with Richland, 15-11 overall, only 9 of their wins were against NJCAA opponents, 6 additional wins against prep schools or JV teams. So their overall NJCAA record was 9-11. We just as a committee felt that that wasn't strong enough to overtake a team with 24 NJCAA wins.
It seems to me, and we can go through all of these at-larges, but it seems to me based on that answer that you value NJCAA wins and you value maybe playing up, quality of opponent. Is that correct?
Yeah, so by the nature of our code, we can only consider games against NJCAA competition. So that was the number one thing that we looked at. And then, really Prince George is one of those teams that was kind of on the bubble going into our discussion. They had 13 wins against Division I and Division II. The Texas teams do play a lot of Division I games, but Richland was 2-6 in those games, just not enough to overcome the lack of wins against NJCAA schools overall.
Every selection committee every year has its identity. What besides that might be something that you were looking at as you seeded this 12-team tournament?
We did look at how teams finished. The 4 teams we selected all finished 9-1, with the lone loss being the team that eliminated them, whether it was in district play or in regional play.
The number 1 seed is Sandhills, obviously a perennial power. Sandhills lost 3 games this year, but did not lose a single Division III game. So I guess that fills the criteria, correct, for being the number 1 overall seed?
Correct. They had 2 Division I losses to quality opponents, and then they had 1 Division I loss against Davidson-Davie, who I think could end up as the number 1 team in the Division II tournament. They've been number 1 in the country for numerous weeks. That was an ESPN game through the NJCAA, so a chance for everyone to see the best in Division III, and they made a great game out of it. It was a 6-point game. Any
debate about number 1 or no?
Not really. We did talk about Northlake. Obviously started the season as number 1, defending national champions. They started 0-4. After that, they kind of got on a tear, and they've been playing great. There's no doubt that they can make a case for being deserving of the 1, but we felt Sandhills, their longevity at the number 1 spot this year, really won the day. And, once you get into tournament play, you have an opportunity to prove who's 1, who's 2, where everyone is in the pecking order.
And Northern Essex at number 4, they had the best record, 31-1. They've won 27 consecutive games coming into this. But Northern Essex, I guess, quality of opponent. Why number 4?
So they were actually 3 in the final poll, and they held that 3 spot for a while. Brookdale, coming out of Region 19, we felt just had a little bit of a tougher path and a little bit quality of depth of teams within Region 19 this year. There were really 8-9 teams that were pretty high quality in Region 19. So we just felt that they had a little bit of a tougher path. They also, 2 of their losses were an administrative thing. So really, we felt like Brookdale was a 1-loss team, and the teams that they had to get through to get there just elevated them just a little bit. Northern Essex had a November loss, and I think ripped off 27 wins in a row. Really, for us, the top 4 is very important because you basically have a bye the first day and play somebody coming back on 24 hours or less turnaround time. So we wanted to make sure we had the most deserving 4 teams in those slots.
What about Northampton at number 5? Were they close at all to getting a top 4 seed? Because you just said it, the top 4, that's important. And the rest of the 8, they're going to have to win 4 games in 4 days to claim the championship.
So we talked about Northern Essex, Northampton, and who else did we talk about? Northern Essex, Northampton, and Fulton Montgomery, all for that 4, 5, 6 spots. And really it came down to just Northern Essex, their total body of work. Fulton Montgomery had a couple slip-ups during the season, lost to a couple teams that we wouldn't consider to be as strong. So that really just knocked them down a couple spots. And Northampton at 5, we felt like, again, playing through Region 19, being able to see them throughout the postseason, they're a very solid team. So we, were able to kind of create that matchup where they would get Northern Essex, Fulton Montgomery would get Brookdale, instead of seeing Northern Essex instead of seeing Northampton play Brookdale off again.
I know in conversations in past years, you do look at the matchups that come from the seeding. And this year, you're going to have a first-round matchup. Literally, the first game of the tournament is going to be two at-large selections, Prince George's and Mohawk Valley. Was there any discussion about not matching them up in the first round and not having at-larges face each other in the first round? And if so, why or why not did this matchup get settled the way it was?
Well, I think when we go and look at it, we look at who we feel based on their criteria and the criteria we use, that the at-large teams are not necessarily one of the best 8 or 9 teams in the tournament. If history tells us anything, last year, Northlake was an at-large and won national championship. Rock Valley, those teams that came through, I think they advanced, but Joliet, we had every at-large team last year, I believe, won a game in the tournament. So they've proven to be high-quality teams, and those two teams just fell into that slot. We felt like their resumes were just slightly better than the teams that we had in the 10, 11, 12 spot. And, the winner of that game gets the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm. And you just said last year's national champion, Dallas Northlake, they were an at-large selection. This is now year 3 of the 12-team tournament with the 4 at-larges in Division III NJCAA basketball. How has during the tenure of the at-larges, how has that developed and maybe improved the tournament for this championship?
So what it does is it helps us pick teams from regions of the country where we feel this year may just be a little bit stronger. One of the hardest things in Division III basketball for the committee is a lot of times we're never comparing apples to apples. We have teams from the Northeast who are never going to play a team from Texas. We're never going to play a team from Minnesota. So basically, we're just using all the information available to us to determine, where teams should be ranked throughout the course of the year, and then where teams should be seeded. And even at larges, you don't have a lot of comparables. So the one great thing about the tournament, and specifically about the at larges, is you can pick teams from areas that you think had a great year and match them up with teams from across the country. And the tournament, the student athletes, the coaches, they just get to play it out and prove it. We as a committee are just doing the best job we can with the information that we have in a division where there's not a lot of national level travel prior to the tournament.
Understood. Greg Whitcop, he is the chair of the Division III Men's Basketball Committee. Well, you have a tough job, Greg. Not everyone's going to be happy, so we appreciate the explanation and thank you for the time.
All right, thank you very much.
One more look at the full tournament bracket. The number 1 overall seed, Sand Hills. The number 2, Dallas Northlake. The number 3, Brookdale. The number 4, Northern Essex. Those 4 earn a first-round bye. For everyone else, it will require 4 wins in 4 days to cut down the net in Herkimer, New York, as national champion. And the at-large selections into the field, Prince George's, Mohawk Valley, Northampton, and Butler County. All games, including consolation games, streamed live online on the NJCAA network. That does it for this D3 Men's Basketball Selection Show. We say thank you to our entire team for their hard work. A reminder, coming up next, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the Women's Selection Show for Division III NJCAA basketball. You can catch that right here on the NJCAA network. Until then, I'm Phil Constantino. Thanks for joining us. Congrats to all of the participants, and good luck.